I went to the neighborhood and started knocking on the doors, then a scary voice came from one of the front doors. The children around me shrieked and ran away, but still, a few brave souls stepped forward and shouted, "Trick or treat." As I watched, the door creaked open, revealing a figure shrouded in darkness. Do you also like watching horror stories? So turn off the lights of your room and close the door, and stay till the end of the video. A crooked smile appeared beneath a tattered mask, and in a raspy voice, it whispered, "Welcome, little ones. Do you dare enter?" One child, Timmy, who had always been the boldest, gripped his candy bag tightly and stepped closer. "What do you have for us?" he asked, trying to sound brave. The figure tilted its head, and the shadows seemed to flicker, revealing glimmers of unsettling eyes watching from inside the house. "Only the sweetest treats, if you can pass my test," the figure hissed, its voice dripping with malice. "But beware, some treats come with a price." The other kids hesitated, glancing nervously at each other. "What kind of test?" asked Sarah, her voice barely above a whisper. "Answer my riddle," the figure said, its grin widening. "If you solve it, the treasures await. If not, you shall stay here, forever." Timmy, undeterred, nodded. "We'll do it." The figure leaned closer, its breath cold and rancid. "I have keys that open no locks. I have space but no room. I have a face but no features. What am I?" The children huddled together, whispering furiously. Timmy scratched his head, while Sarah's eyes darted nervously. "It's a calendar," she finally exclaimed, her voice ringing with hope. A long pause followed, and then the figure burst into laughter, an echoing sound that chilled the air. "Correct. But will you pay the price?" "What price?" Timmy asked, heart racing. "Each of you must leave a piece of your soul," the figure replied, its tone shifting to something darker. "A small sacrifice for the sweet reward." The children exchanged panicked glances, fear etched on their faces. "No way," shouted Timmy. "We're not doing that." With a wave of the figure's hand, the door creaked wider, revealing a dimly lit hallway filled with shadows and whispers. "Then you must leave, but not without a reminder of your cowardice." Suddenly, a gust of wind slammed the door shut, and the children screamed. The laughter grew louder, echoing through the night, sending chills down their spines. Desperate, they turned to run, but the ground felt like it was shifting beneath them. As they dashed down the steps, they heard a final hiss, "Next time, you may not be so lucky." Panting, they regrouped in the street, adrenaline pumping. "What just happened?" Sarah asked, her face pale. "Just a stupid prank," Timmy said, though his voice wavered. But deep down, they all knew that something sinister lurked behind that door. The rest of Halloween night passed in a blur of laughter and treats, but the encounter haunted them. Each shadow seemed alive, and every creak in the dark reminded them of the chilling voice that had promised rewards and horrors alike. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the neighborhood, they swore to avoid that house. But when they looked back, the figure stood at the window, grinning, waiting for the next group of trick-or-treaters to dare enter its lair. And the whispers continued, echoing in the wind, reminding them that some doors are best left closed. The night was thick with fog, wrapping the neighborhood in an unsettling silence. Children in costumes tiptoed down the street, their laughter barely cutting through the chill in the air. I joined them, my heart pounding with excitement and dread, the moon casting eerie shadows on the cracked pavement. As we approached the old Johnson house, a sense of foreboding crept in. The windows were dark, and the door hung slightly ajar, swaying ominously. The stories we heard whispered among friends echoed in my mind, "They say it's haunted, no one goes there." But tonight was Halloween, and bravery was a must. I knocked on the door, the sound echoing like a thunderclap. Suddenly, a raspy voice slithered through the cracks, "Who dares disturb my slumber?" The children froze, their faces pale, eyes wide with terror. A few whimpered, clutching their candy bags, but a couple stepped forward, whispering, "Trick or treat." The door creaked open, revealing a dim interior filled with shadows. Cobwebs draped from the ceiling, and the air smelled stale, like something long forgotten. As we peered inside, the figure of an old woman emerged, her hair wild, eyes gleaming with mischief. She grinned, revealing crooked teeth. "Ah, brave souls," she cackled. "You seek treats, but beware, there's a trick awaiting those who dare." The children exchanged nervous glances, unsure if they should retreat or stay. I felt a mix of fear and curiosity pulling me in. "Come closer," she beckoned, her voice dripping with anticipation. "Only the bold shall earn their rewards." Against our better judgment, we stepped inside, the door slamming shut behind us with a thunderous bang. Inside, the room was lined with shelves of dusty jars, each containing something strange and unsettling: eyeballs, insects, and glimmering potions. "Choose wisely," she warned. "Each candy comes with a price." With trembling hands, we reached for a glowing candy, its allure irresistible. As soon as we touched it, the lights flickered, and the ground began to tremble. The walls seemed to close in, shadows swirling around us. "What have you done?" someone shouted in panic. The old woman's laughter filled the room, echoing in our ears. "You've awakened the spirits of this house. Now, you must face your fears." Suddenly, the shadows took form, creeping towards us, whispering our deepest insecurities. "Run!" I yelled, and we bolted towards the door, but it wouldn't budge. Panic surged as the shadows closed in. Just when it felt like all hope was lost, the bravest among us shouted, "We're not afraid of you." The words struck the air like lightning, and the shadows paused. Empowered by courage, we joined hands and faced the darkness together. "We tricked you first," we shouted, our voices rising in unison. To our astonishment, the shadows recoiled, releasing us from their grasp. The door flung open, and we rushed outside, gasping for breath. The fog had lifted, and the moon shone brightly above us. We stood on the porch, hearts racing, filled with exhilaration. The old woman leaned in the doorway, a glint of approval in her eyes. "You've earned your treats, but remember, bravery is the ultimate reward." As we hurried back to the street, the night felt different, more alive. The thrill of our encounter lingered, a reminder that sometimes the creepiest places hide the greatest adventures. And as we continued trick-or-treating, we couldn't help but smile, knowing we had faced the unknown and come out on the other side. The night was draped in a thick fog, wrapping the neighborhood in an unsettling silence. Shadows flickered under the dim glow of streetlights, and the air felt charged with anticipation. I wandered down the street, a small group of costumed children trailing behind me, ghosts, witches, and ghouls, each laughing nervously, their excitement palpable. As we approached the old Miller house, a shiver ran down my spine. The stories echoed in my mind, they say it's haunted. No one dares to go there. The house loomed ahead, its rotting wooden siding and cracked windows resembling vacant eyes staring into the abyss. A chill gust of wind rustled the leaves, heightening the eerie atmosphere. I knocked on the weathered door, the sound reverberating through the stillness. Silence followed, thick and heavy. Just as doubt crept in, a raspy voice hissed from within, "Who dares disturb my slumber?" The children froze, their playful demeanor replaced by wide-eyed terror. Some began to back away, but two of them whispered, "Trick or treat." With a slow creak, the door opened just a crack, revealing an inky darkness beyond. My heart raced as a gnarled hand, pale and crooked, reached out, beckoning us inside. "Come closer, little ones. Only the brave shall receive their rewards." Compelled by a mix of fear and curiosity, we stepped into the house. The door slammed shut behind us, echoing ominously. Inside, the dim light flickered from an old lantern, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Cobwebs hung like veils from the ceiling, and a musty odor filled the air. Shelves lined with strange jars held unsettling contents, preserved eyes floating in cloudy liquid, dried insects, and glowing potions that pulsed as if alive. "Choose wisely," the voice intoned, its tone dripping with malice. "Each treat has its price." As we glanced around, the atmosphere shifted, the shadows in the corners seemed to flicker and breathe, as if they had a life of their own. With trembling hands, we reached for a gleaming candy that caught our eyes, a vibrant green lollipop that shimmered unnaturally. The moment we touched it, the room shuddered violently, and the air turned electric. Shadows twisted and morphed, closing in on us, whispering our fears in a chorus of voices. "Run!" I screamed, panic surging through me. We bolted toward the door, but it was stuck, as if held by an unseen force. The shadows crept closer, enveloping us in darkness, their whispers growing louder and more menacing. "What have you done?" someone cried out, their voice laced with terror. The old woman's laughter filled the room, echoing like thunder. "You've awakened the spirits of this place. Now, you must face what we fear most." The shadows swirled around us, taking shape, revealing our deepest insecurities, memories of failure, fears of loneliness, and the haunting echoes of past regrets. But just when it felt like all hope was lost, one child stepped forward, her voice steady and defiant. "We're not afraid of you," she shouted, her bravery sparking a flicker of hope in our hearts. The words rang out, and the shadows hesitated, as if struck by a light. Emboldened, we shouted together, "We tricked you first." Our voices rose, a chorus of unity that pushed back against the encroaching darkness. To our astonishment, the shadows recoiled, freeing us from their grasp. The door flew open, revealing the moonlit night outside, and we rushed into the fresh air, gasping for breath. Outside, the fog had lifted, revealing a starry sky that felt strangely comforting. We stood on the porch, hearts racing, filled with exhilaration and disbelief. The old woman leaned in the doorway, a glint of approval in her eyes. "You've faced the darkness and earned your treats. Remember, true bravery lies in unity." As we fled down the street, the night felt transformed, imbued with a sense of magic and wonder. The thrill of our encounter lingered, reminding us that facing the unknown can lead to the most unforgettable adventures. Laughter erupted among us as we continued trick-or-treating, sharing stories of our encounter, our spirits high. Halloween had become a night we would never forget.